Welcome to Better Life, Better Business, your go-to podcast for how you can grow your business, double your productivity and time off, work smarter and not harder. Brought to you by local business coaching expert Christoph Nauer, CEO of Balance 6 in Walnut Creek, California.
Welcome back to Better Life, Better Business with local business coach and time management expert Christoph Nauer of Balance 6. I'm your host, Rebecca Troxel, founder and CEO of Rebecca's Vault. If you've been watching our episodes lately, then you know we've been interviewing business owners about not only what they do to help you with your time and in your business, but how they're navigating the world of being business owners themselves.
Thank you, Rebecca, and welcome, everyone. I'm Christoph Nauer of Balance 6, and today I'm going to be talking with Dale Young, known as Coach Dale, a fellow coach. Hi, Dale. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Christoph and Rebecca. It's nice to be here with you today.
Great to have you. Thanks. As you know, or probably know, and most our listeners definitely know, the purpose of my podcast is to provide excellent resources, helpful tools, and tips to business owners. And that's exactly why I wanted to have you on as a guest, Dale. So can you please tell us a little bit about what it is you do and how you bring value to business owners and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so my tagline is I take you out of your chaos into your clarity so that you can pursue your calling. Okay. Chaos is one of those things, we all have it. We sometimes don't even recognize it, right? It's just all around us and we don't even perceive it. Yeah, but when you start peeling the onion back, it's all around us. Christoph, I know you deal with time management, same kind of thing. Minutes just slip away, right? Well, the same thing, if you don't address your chaos, you'll never get out of it. Once you address it and you get some clarity, then you can deal with it. And once you deal with it, then you can really pursue your calling or your purpose or whatever higher value role you want to get to. So that's really what I do. I use a variety of means to do that. I think getting out of your chaos into your clarity, one of the great tools that I use is the Clifton Strengths, formerly get the Gallup Strength Finder. I'm certified in the We-Align strength alignment process on that. And I've seen that change lives, literally. One lady actually changed direction, quit her old business, started a new business, and now 2 years later, she's got 15 people working for her, 25 clients nationwide, and just blowing and going. So that kind of result can happen from this, and then focusing on getting from your clarity into your calling. I've got several tools to help people really get around their spiritual side and focus on where they really feel God is calling them to. So hope that helps a little bit.
Sure. And you said a key word that I really like, clarity, because I did a podcast just on that alone with the whole idea of clarity and goal setting. So totally resonates with me, Dale. What's one thing you wish you had known when you began your business?
Oh gosh, that's a really tough one because there's so many things. One thing I wish I'd known really at that time was the whole E-Myth process, that people start a business because they want to do the business, right? But there's more to a business than just doing the business. You got to get the clients, you got to manage, you got to dream, or in the E-Myth role, you would say the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician doing the doing of the business. The manager is kind of in process and making sure that everything gets done on time and whatever, and the entrepreneur being the dreamer. Well, I had the dreamer part down and I had the technician part down, but I didn't do a very good job as a manager at all. So, and actually that gets back to the whole Clifton Strengths, because my natural strengths are not around the manager part. So I really had to figure that part out and deal with it. So.
Good. Yeah, I know that's a fantastic book. And I think, it's so dead on. And if you're a solopreneur, you wearing all three hats, and so,
exactly.
Yeah. What's your biggest challenge right now?
My biggest challenge right now is actually because I'm going through some personal changes in my own life. I have, it's basically just eating up all my time. And so I'm having to balance that. You know, maybe I should reach out to Christoph and get some time management tips here or whatever. But, you know, I'm in a new relationship. It's looking really well. And we actually went ring shopping yesterday. So, you know, things are progressing a lot faster than I ever thought they would in this regard. But that right now, today, that is taking up a whole lot of my time. So, you know, so, but I'm happy to make that kind of trade-off, right?
Good challenge to have.
Yeah, well, congrats. That's great news. What are some of the best resources that have helped you along the way?
Oh gosh, there's all kinds of resources. John Maxwell, I was a John Maxwell fan way back when, 2000s, before I ever actually got into coaching. He's a great resource for leadership, for teamwork, that kind of thing. Another good resource has been Michael Hyatt. He's got blogs and podcasts and other things like that out there, and he's always talking about a whole lot of different things. On the spiritual side, I've got some good resources there around. John Eldridge has a new book. I'll just recommend it. So John Eldridge wrote Wild at Heart and Captivating and several other ones. But the one he put out in February of 2020 is called Get Your Life Back. Okay, now February of 2020 is before COVID, right? All right, so he was already pretty well down the road of what we were about to deal with COVID, right? And so the book is called Get Your Life Back by John Eldridge. But look at this, the subtitle, Everyday Practices for a World Gone Mad. Do you think he was onto something, you know? So that's been a great resource. Yeah, I mean, he was plugged into a higher power there, right? For sure. Absolutely. So that was a good resource. Another one that's really good for business people is The Prayer Powered Entrepreneur by Kim Avery. And actually, I am one of I think there's about a dozen of us now that are facilitated to run prayer powered mastermind groups around this. So that's another good resource. So, you know, when it comes to looking at my bookshelf back there, all of those are good resources as well. But, you know, really for me, I think the best resources have been the people that I've run into. It's just it's so uplifting. Going through coach training myself from, you know, starting in 2011, it was really the coaches that poured into me through their coaching process and such that I really grew and became who I am today. So.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, the having mentors and having a network and a community of people to help you along the way, that makes a huge difference. You know, you can do much more, and the support that you get from one another. And, you know, the coaches, one of their jobs is to, you know, to push you a little bit and encourage you and support you and hold you accountable. So totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So, you know that my thing is my shtick is on time management and so forth. And one of the things, of course, is the idea of delegating. What role does that play in your business?
Oh, you know, the last couple of years, it's played a huge role. I mentioned the lady that had set up our business. So let me tell you a little bit more background around that. Her name is Sam, and it's not short for Samantha. You'll have to reach out to her to find out exactly why it's Sam. But anyway, so when I ran into her, when I met her in January of 2019, at that moment, she was a published author. She had self-published 16 books. She was owner-publisher of a neighborhood magazine, but she felt like it really wasn't where God wanted her. She was feeling that overworked and underpaid type scenario, right? And so I actually took her through the Clifton Strengths process that We Align, so that I'm part of with We Align. And she got a whole lot of clarity out of that. And then she basically shut down that old business, started a new virtual administration business. Now, this was a great deal for me because I had a great relationship with her already, and I could hire a virtual admin to help me out with all these things. Now, knowing my strengths and what I'm good at, and knowing the stuff I'm not good at, I am like way down in focus. I'm way down in discipline. I'm way down in, matter of fact, consistency is my last on my strengths, okay? And so hiring a virtual admin, coming in and, putting some structure around me to say, you've got to get this done. You've got to deal with these things, right? Just as for instance, for example, I have tried to do blog posts multiple times in the past, okay, starting back in 2016. And I'd do them weekly for a while, and then they'd drop off to monthly, and then they'd just go away, right? Now, so since I got Sam working for me, she has kept me on task. We have had a weekly blog post every week since May of 2019 now, so over 2 years. And it's fantastic because I'm actually producing a lot of quality content now and things like that I knew was always in me, but I just wasn't pulling it out, type of thing. And so that's one way that I really delegate. So I actually wrote a book, got that published in February of 2020. And the book is called The Identity Key. One of my personal passions is I'm an assessment junkie. And so this book is all about assessments, okay? It has probably 100 of different assessments in there. And the book is thin because I don't tell you everything about the assessment. I give you a higher level overview and then a link out to the place on the web where you can find out more about it, right? So, but, delegating a lot of the book publishing, she'd self-published 16 books. She could help me self-publish a book, right? So it was a case where delegating that was really, really useful for me.
Awesome. I love that. Delegating is really hard for me. I have to get some reinforcements from Christoph on a regular basis to delegate. So it's not my strength. I admire you and I'm taking notes. So a lot of people watching this podcast have seen that previously we've talked a lot about prioritizing. Christoph talks a lot about the 80-20 rule, the ABCDE method, proactive procrastination, all of those things. How do you prioritize things for yourself?
What I'll say on that is getting back to plugging into your higher power, okay? And for me in particular, I have to meet with God daily, and I have to really understand what is my task for today. And I have to be okay if God tells me my task today is not what I thought my task today was. And sometimes that is a really tough thing for me to do. But I have to plug into that, and I have to do that. That's just part of what has helped make me successful over the last couple of years. And so I have to do it. So, and that kind of gives the priorities. And then the other thing that I'll say, I wrote a whole series of blog posts around SMART goals. You guys probably are really familiar with SMART goals, right? But I relabeled all of them. And in particular, the A in SMART is now aspiring, okay? And with aspiring, what I mean is you have to plug into your why. You have to know and understand your why. And what you have to, each goal has to plug into your why somehow. When you're working through things and you're trying to get through a milestone or a SMART goal or whatever, and you're plugging into that why, you have a lot more power to get it done.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah, that's so true. And there's a saying, if the why is big enough, the how will happen. I'm sure you've heard that as well as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
As a business owner, you have lots of responsibilities. How do you make sure that everything gets done? Besides delegating.
Frankly, most of the time it doesn't get done, and I have to be okay with that, but it is a case of sometimes I delegate that to Sam to help her. I just don't say, hey, remind me of this, or put it on your tracking list or whatever. Sometimes it's putting things into an Evernote. I love Evernote. It's a great resource for helping stuff, and you just throw stuff in there and you can always search it and find it later. So use that a lot. I am calendar driven. If I put it on the calendar, that's when it happens. Okay. If I don't put it on the calendar, it's not going to happen.
Yep, I couldn't agree more with you on that. Whatever doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done.
Right.
Exactly.
You may know that only about 3% of people have written goals for their business and their lives. How do you handle goal setting? I would imagine as a coach, I'm sure you'll be part of the 3%.
Not necessarily. No, my goals are really, see, I'm somewhat in transition, right? I mean, I'm older than I look. Basically I've actually already started Social Security. I'm not at the point where I have to work to make money. Okay. I work because I enjoy it. I work because I am out there to have an impact on the world. And so for me, my priorities are first staying plugged into God and what God wants me to do, and then going and doing that. And sometimes, and even this year, he's changed my priorities 2 or 3 times. And I mean, my big priorities, certainly getting into a relationship was one of those big changes. And so for me, I'm also a little bit more of a free spirit. I told you that focus and discipline and consistency were not in my top strengths. So, so having written goals, I know that if I write a goal and I really plug into it, and if God says that that's the goal to do, I will get it done a lot better if I have it written down. Okay. But for me, I write stuff down, and sometimes I do not go back and check with God and say, is this really a priority or not? And so sometimes those written goals just sit out there for ages and ages. So, and I'm just being honest here. That's
good.
I think everybody has to find their own pattern through that.
Yeah, absolutely. It only depends. And I think you're in a different role because you say you can work or you cannot work. It's either way, you're fine, you love what you do, and so that's why you still do what you do, and so that's puts you in a different category than folks who depend on a business to provide and want to grow the business. Absolutely.
And absolutely, you're totally right about that. And then the other thing is really getting crystal clear on your why, because when you have that why, you have that drive, you have that power. That's when things happen, whether the goals are written or not. So, and that's why I say the aspiring and SMART goals is you got to connect back to the why.
Right. One of the 6 in my business name, Balance 6, is spirituality. And I think that's the one you would like to talk a little bit about to our listeners. The others are, of course, time, money, health, and relationship, and self-improvement. But you pick the spirituality or higher power category. Can you share some tips and tricks for business owners in this regard? I know you already alluded to it a little bit throughout this conversation, but do you have anything specific you want to add to that?
Yeah, there's tons of resources out there, but I am really excited about one new one. And that new one is a book that I'm just getting into now called Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. And the premise there is that if you are not, if you're trying to grow spiritually, but you are immature emotionally, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay. You got to grow on both sides. And part of that growing is understanding that you've got to take care of yourself. Okay. A lot of people, they hear the thing about, love God and love others. Well, the actual thing is love God and love others as yourself. Okay. You can't lay down your own life if you don't have a life to lay down. Right. So, part of that is you have to take care of yourself. And I forget who said it, but it was a quote out of the book. Self-care is never selfish. Self-care is basically taking care of the one body that God has gifted you with so that you can go make the impact in the world. And so, I will really recommend that book, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, even though I'm only a quarter of the way into it, just because of such a good basis and setup on that. The other one, though, is, like I said, the Prayer-Powered Entrepreneur, which leads into the Prayer-Powered Mastermind groups that I run. That's a great resource as well, as far as bringing God into your business. Okay. A lot of people think that God is not concerned with your business, but if he's put it on your heart to start a business, he is concerned with it, because he's concerned with you. Okay. And he's concerned with everything around you. And so if you believe that God wanted you to start a business, why would you not pray for your business? But so many entrepreneurs don't do that. They've got this mental mindset or whatever that, well, God won't bless my business just because I pray for it, So anyway, so that's another great resource. Yeah, and I've got several other tips, tricks, and techniques as far as, helping you grow in your spirituality as well. A lot of the more common spiritual disciplines and things like that. But for me, I come at it from a Christian perspective. For me, you've got to stay plugged into the Bible, because that's really the root source of everything in the Christian world. So I'll say that. Any questions around that?
Well, the self-care part, that's a huge component of the work I do. And so for listeners who have listened to some of these podcasts, they've heard me talk about self-care quite a bit. So I'm glad to hear that, you're just reaffirming the stuff that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe Christoph bribed you to bring this stuff up on our conversation, because delegation and self-care are two things that I hear every single time I have a conversation with Christoph. So I think we all agree that those things are super important. I'm glad you're bringing them to the surface and looking at them from a different perspective. And it's really interesting to see how spirituality and higher power, how it ties into self-care and, all those things too. I really appreciate those connections. That's awesome.
Well, connectedness is number 3 on my strength finder. So I'm doing connections all the time there. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned a lot of books, and I love the fact that you're a book guy. The E-Myth is something that actually inspired me to be a business owner and told me I could actually do that. But what are some of the people in your life that have been most influential to you or inspired you over the years?
People in my life have been, I'll go back to, I was hired by a guy in 1996, and I worked for him for 13 years across 4 companies. And he was a great mentor for me. His name is Gary Toch. And he really helped me grow as a person, as a leader, as just somebody that could get along with people. I was a little bit raw and a little bit edgy during that process. So that was one guy. Hugh Jones was another mentor of mine. He's got a lot of great sayings that pop out of my mouth still these days, like you don't want to be the first one into a new land, because you'll end up with arrows in your back. So you want to go in after the entrepreneurs have gone in and settled the land, type of thing. And then a lot of coaches, Chris McCluskey, president of Professional Christian Coaching Institute, where I got my coach training. Kim Avery, been in mastermind groups with her even before the Prayer-Powered Mastermind. John Ramstead. There's John Lockhorst, Danny Wood, Pete Cafarcio. Those are all people that I am in a peer mastermind group with. On a regular basis, twice a month basis with that. So tons around that. In terms of spirituality, I would say my pastor, Wayne Broderick at Frisco Bible Church, he has had a tremendous impact on my growth of understanding the Bible and such like that. So those are a few people there. But
Oh, yeah, just a few. It sounds like you're a wealth of information there, Dale.
don't ask me for references. I'll just keep going on and on. So
Well, I'm sure our audience would like to connect with you after listening to you. How can they best do that online?
So website is coachdale.com. I try and make it easy for everybody. Email is dale@coachdale.com. There's contact forms on there and such like that. I'm also all over Facebook and LinkedIn, so you can find me on those as well. So those are good places to start.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Dale, for allowing myself and our viewers to listen in on your conversation with Christoph today.
You're quite welcome. I enjoyed it. It was an honor to be here.
And viewers, thank you for joining us. If you or someone you know needs some help finding clarity like Dale has, make sure you take advantage of the offer Christoph provides his audience. A complimentary business breakthrough session where you'll learn how he can help you double your productivity, profits, and time off. All you have to do is go to balance6.biz to sign up for a time that works for you. Until next time, make sure you focus on those goals to having a better life and a better business.
This week's episode of Better Life, Better Business is brought to you by CA&C Video Productions. Since 1985, CA&C Video has been providing live streaming, event production, and analog to digital transfer services. They capture those life-changing moments, preserving your history for current and future generations. Because your history matters. Visit their website at cacvideo.com. Thank you so much for your sponsorship.
That's all for now. Thanks for listening to another episode of Better Life, Better Business with business and time management coach Christoph Nauer with Balance 6, the leading business and time management company in Northern California. Visit them at balance6.biz.